Ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure it is to meet you and to give you an idea on the Zion's Camp Trail. I am a teacher. I am a former teacher at the Logan Institute of Religion for 28 years. I have been able to be interested in church history because of the name of Zelph. I ran onto that in my teaching very early. This bothered me all the rest of my life. It was interesting because there was nothing available to me to find out about Zelph. And so I decided that I would find more information about it, and I got into the journals of those people who was in Zion's Camp. And eventually, I was able to find where Zelph was buried and the mound wherein he lay near the Illinois River in Illinois. The Mormon people were living out in Jackson County, Missouri. They had gone there on the invitation from Joseph Smith, an inspiration which he had received from the Lord. Consequently, 2,000 of them met in Jackson County and settled on ground which they bought. The people of Missouri, the old residents of Missouri, were very unhappy about the saints being there and buying up the ground and so forth, and the new religion which they did not understand. They began to persecute the church, and evidently they drove them out of Jackson County. Zion's Camp came about because they were in improvised homes across the Missouri River, and Joseph Smith, knowing about this, received the inspiration from the Lord to gather up a sort of an army and go out there and place the saints back into their homes. And so they came from Kirtland, Ohio, and as I say, a 47-day march with 20 baggage wagons to help the saints with their living there in Missouri. And that's what this is all about, of how they came there, what happened. They could not put their saints back into their homes, and so they then moved to Nauvoo, Illinois. But this book tells about those incidents where this army came out to Illinois, or to Missouri, and there put their, and they failed in that fact, but they brought about the leadership of the church for the next 100 years. Of those men who were in Zion's Camp became the leaders. Brigham Young, Heber C. Kimball, the Pratts, all of them were in Zion's Camp. And this is very interesting because of what happened to these men and their incidents in Missouri. It was a great occasion for me to be able to find the mound accidentally. It came about in this way. My wife and I decided to do some research at Pittsfield, Illinois, and we went up into the building, and there we found a lady who I asked. I said, I'm a historian from Salt Lake City. I'm looking for a large mound that is here in Illinois, next to the Illinois River. And the person that I was talking to happened to be the historian of Pike County. And he said, I can't believe this, Mr. Bradley, I can't believe this. Yesterday, standing where you were standing, there came a lady from the Northwestern University, an archaeologist from Northwestern University, who said, do you know, we have found a large mound out here on the Illinois River. Do you know what's in that mound? And he says, no, I didn't even know there was a mound out there. And he says, now you come and you had said in your introduction that you know what's in that mound. And I said, I do, because I've got all of the evidence here, of the journals, evidence. And he says, oh, I've got to get the copies of those. And he says, you need to meet this outstanding archaeologist from the Northwestern University. And he said, I'll make all of the arrangements if you come back here. And I said, I'd be happy to. And so I went back there on July the 4th in 1972 and met him and this archaeologist. And I told him about what is in the Book of Mormon and why he was buried there, because he was a great man and he was in a war and he was killed by an arrowhead, which was in his back, because Joseph Smith, of whom had Zion, leader of Zion's camp, of course, Joseph Smith said, dig right here, dig right here. And they dug and they found this skeleton of this large man, whose was Zelph. By inspiration, Joseph Smith knew that his name was Zelph. There I was, standing on that knoll, that high hill, and Zelph had been there, and so had Joseph Smith. And it was an incident in my life that I will never forget. And it brought about my interest in telling about Zelph and the Zion camp incident that happened in 1834. And so I am James L. Bradley, and I'm able to tell you this because I have an outstanding book, the only book that has ever been written of the Zion camp incidents. It's the only history that there is about the Zion camp incident, and I have written it, and this is the third edition of that book, and it tells closely the things that happened on that whole journey of 47 days out to Missouri, from Kirtland, Ohio, to the Missouri and where the saints were living.